Hello everybody, welcome back. Today I'm going to be profiling a branded Synchro Bestial deck list. It's a really cool strategic type of deck. It reminds me a lot of DDDs. I've been playtesting it for a while, and it has required a lot of learning to try and, I guess, optimize the plays as such, because it feels like there's a lot of different pathways, especially when you don't fusion lock yourself, because we're not aiming to really activate branded fusion much at all, usually just to kind of close out the game. So when you're not fusion locked, then you do actually have these other lines involving the synchro plays that you have to take into consideration when you're playing. So I'll get straight into the list. I've taken this to a couple of locals now and had mixed success. The most recent locals had a lot more success, so I was able to really string together some wins. It's just from learning how to play the deck, I guess. So to start off with, 3 Albaz, 3 Cartesia, and 3 Quem. These are kind of like the main engine pieces that you want to be seeing. Cartesia in particular is what really, I think, pulls the deck together, because that is going to be your primary way to fusion summon, which we still definitely want to do. But the fact that Quem and Cartesia are tuners just opens up all of the synchro plays as well. Then for the rest of the kind of Albaz monsters, we've got 1 Kit, 1 Mercuria, 1 Albion, and not an Albaz monster, but it's honorary, and that is the Tragedy. So that just kind of helps with the consistency, because yeah, we really want to see either of these. This deck doesn't have those kind of bigger 1-card combo plays that, it's not necessarily 1-card combo plays, but because we don't have access to branded fusion, we don't have many kind of bigger, just haymaker type cards. Like, for example, the fact that you can go in pure branded, you can go branded opening for Aluba without using your normal summon. That's really strong. We don't really have plays like that, so yeah, we really just want to see these, and this is mostly a 2-card kind of combo deck. To go with these guys is the High Spirits. I really like this card. It just represents 3 more copies of Cartesia, Quem, but also, like, in a pinch, it does actually search branded fusion through Springer's Kit. It's very neg to do that, but if you open up a hand where you really don't have anything to do, then that is at least something you can do. Yeah, it's useful. Just, again, 3 more copies of your main starters, so for consistency it's pretty important. Then we're playing 1 branded fusion. Seems kind of wild. I'd potentially throw this back to 3. Tossing it up. I like that I've got more space now for other cards by not having 3 branded fusion. But the point of branded fusion is more, I guess, turn 3, or when going second, because obviously when going second, you're playing through interruptions, and really it becomes a lot harder to find a synchro line, or not necessarily find a synchro line, but it's a lot harder to even just get to synchros, because your opponent is going to be trying to disrupt you as well. So going second, I do actually side the other 2 copies of branded fusion, and going second, it becomes a lot stronger to just slap down branded fusion once you've kind of baited out some interruptions. It feels a little bit like Verte Anaconda did in, like, let's say Drytron, where you kind of bait out all the interruptions and then you can throw this down and go from there, because if once your opponent kind of works out what you're playing, they don't actually really expect branded fusion, which feels odd, but like certainly last locals it paid off, because like, people knew I was playing this type of list. They didn't think I was on branded fusion, and I played out my hand. I had 1 card left. I'd kind of broken through most of the board. 1 card left. I'd been ashed on the play previous, and then my last card in hand was my 1 of branded fusion. So it was, you know, I felt bad for my opponent that I'd kind of drawn that 1 card branded fusion, but you know, it won me the game ultimately. Then we've got branded white. This card's really good as well. Red. And then Foolish and Gold Sark just represent more copies of starters, because you can hit Tragedy and Mercuria to obviously search Cartesia and Quem. And then the last card for the branded stuff, or the Albaz stuff, is the Retribution, which I keep thinking I want to cut, but then the more I kind of play the deck, the more I kind of like it, especially being able to dump it with Quem. Feels really good. Just as a way, again, kind of like a roundabout way of accessing Brain Fusion between like the Quem, the Albion, the Saranir. Like we've got lots of ways to dump Retribution, dump Brain Fusion, and add it back, which is really good. The Bystials make up the second kind of portion of the deck, and then to kind of play, you really need to see kind of one piece of the Bystials and one piece of the branded. So we've got Rebellion, Magnemite, Saranir, one Druis, and then one Bystial Alabar. This card is crazy. It really does actually tie the deck together because it is Albaz in the grave and on field. Not being Albaz in hand is rough, but because I feel like I open it all the time. But yeah, getting into field or normal summoning it, even if you have to, is fine. And then playing the one Regain, one Beast. These are both obviously really good. Regain in particular is just crazy. Yeah, it's known that it's a good card now. And then my last 6 slots, I'm playing 3 Dark Ruler and 3 Book of Moon as just my non-engine. 6 non-engine. I'm not really someone who generally plays decks with low counts of non-engine. I love playing mid-rangey type decks like Sprite that you can fit 12, 15 with ease is generally more my cup of tea. But yeah, these 6 really overperformed. Book of Moon was particularly nice. Obviously dodging interruption, but also it's just such a good card in 2023, being able to book opponents' monsters and go from there. And then Dark Ruler is just really good as well. So that is the main deck. I want to say it's 41, but yeah, potentially I want to try and up Branded Fusion back to 3. There's a world where I'd do that. Yeah, still kind of working it out. Then for the extra deck, the Synchros, Bystial Dispatter is another one of those kind of really key pieces that kind of ties it all together. Baron is the other one that we're making a lot. And then these two very rarely come up, being the Lulu and the Chaos Angel. They're both kind of flex spots. You probably don't need to play either, but the Lulu Grave effect is really nice. My only issue with it is you can't send it off High Spirits. You can't send it off Mirror Jade. So like the only real way to kind of put it in the graveyard is off Grand Guignol, but then you kind of want it to be in the extra deck because that's what you're summoning off Grand Guignol sometimes. Usually I'm summoning Quem, but yeah, so it's a funny one. It definitely, like the grave effect is really nice, but to get it into the graveyard does actually require a bit of work. And usually if you've got this on the field, it means you've already had access to Cartesia or Quem. So yeah, the ability to special summon a light spellcaster from hand or deck is good in theory, but it really doesn't come up in practice. Chaos Angel is good. It's not necessary, but it's definitely a strong card to have access to be able to just pull that at any time. Then for the fusions, Sanctifier. This card is really, really nice. Helps play around evenly matched really easily. Mirror Jade, Rebellion, Rindbrum. I'm sure I'm doing something wrong, but it's a card that I very, very rarely use. But I know with more playtesting, I'm sure it will come up more. Titaniclad, this card is awesome. Double Albion, both really great. I've got 1 Guardian Chimera and 1 Grand Guignol. Yeah, these cards generally come up all the time. Yeah, Rindrum so far for me really hasn't, but yeah, I'm still kind of learning the ropes here. And then playing 1 Seal, 1 Striker. Striker is one of those cards that, again, could be cuttable, but it just makes your bad hands a little bit better. It turns your bad hands from nothing into Seal Pass, which is at least something, because Seal, again, between summoning Albaz and summoning like a Magnemite, for example, it, again, is one of the things that kind of ties the deck together. So having Striker Dragon is good. The other thing you could consider doing is dropping, let's say, the Chaos Angel and the Lulu to put in a couple of Super Poly targets and then play Super Poly, because that card is pretty good too at the moment. That's the extra. The side deck I was playing, I'll just kind of race through it, but I was playing Bell for Bystials. Again, great in theory. It didn't come up the other day as such, but definitely great. Droll, really good. This card definitely in the side deck all the time. The other two, Branded Fusion. Yeah, having this was really nice. Because yeah, and again, if your opponent once your opponents know what you're kind of playing and they don't expect Branded Fusion, then to like suddenly have 3 copies of it and being able to see it consistently is really strong. Harpies with 3 Cosmic and 3 Evenly Matched was the side deck. But now I'll just show a couple of really quick combos as to like what the deck is kind of aiming to achieve. Okay, so this first combo is going to involve Blazing Cartesia and Bystial Lubellion. This combo is going to really kind of show kind of one of the main kind of plays that I think I'm trying to achieve. I know certainly you could see other lists that focus much more heavily on the Synchro side of things, but this play is really, really nice. So I'll show you what we kind of do with this. We can go pitch Lubellion, and it feels always, you get funny looks from your opponent when you do this, but we're going to search Aluba here, just because it does become Albaz. Now we can normal summon, we can activate Cartesia to special, and now we can Cartesia to fuse. And we're going to fuse into the Albion. Albion's effect to fuse is going to banish the Aluba and the Lubellion from the grave. And is going to summon Titanic Lad. And again, you always get weird looks from your opponent when you're doing this, because it doesn't look natural at all. But then we can link, because we're not fusion locked. And we link into Seal. So, really, really basic, hopefully very standard. But what we have here then is we get our 3 grave effects with Cartesia, Titanic Lad, and Albion. And then the other really key thing is that these were both properly fusion summoned. So, the really nice play then following this, depending on what obviously your opponent goes to do, but you have the option to make Sanctifier and then put these back on the field. So, end phase, Cartesia adds itself back. Titanic Lad here is going to summon Quem, and Quem is going to dump Albaz, so that represents another interruption. And then Albion can set Branded in red, and obviously this Cartesia is in your hand. So this is just a really simple kind of combo. Now, one thing, you get punished by Super Poly for this, but you do still have the Branded in red to play. So from here you can, depending on I guess how it all plays out, but you've got Quem to pull back any of these, because they're all, again, both properly fusion summoned. This can come back. You obviously still got 3 cards in hand. The Albaz can be summoned back off the Quem when your opponent summons an extra deck monster. You can pitch a card, whether it's Cartesia or whatever, and fusion summon that way. And then depending on, like, if your opponent goes to, let's say, enter the battle phase to evenly match you, you do have the line to go Branded in red, add back Albaz. It's up, you've got to kind of work out what you want to banish between Quem and Cartesia, because you're going to summon Sanctifier. Generally speaking, you would say that the Quem is much more accessible, so probably more affordable to banish. However, if you haven't used its effect to revive from the grave, then you might want to hang on to it. But, so for example, we can go red, banish Albaz and Cartesia, and bring out Sanctifier. And then Sanctifier's effect can put the Titanic Lad and the Albion onto the field. Right, one's for your opponent, one's for you. But then again, you're now obviously safe from evenly matched, but these end up back in the graveyard and you get to trigger their effects. This play gets a lot better if you were able, obviously we did a very simple play with Lubellion and Aluba. If we had access to another Bestial at this, at any point here, we could certainly have set up Beast with one of the Bestials there. So if we've set up Beast, then we can definitely go Beast, tribute the Albion to pop the Titanic Lad, depending on which way around we give it to our opponent. And then in the end phase, we get to trigger these again. Which, just in theory, it's nice. you probably want to use the beast to actually stop your opponent, but yeah, the option is nice. But even just having these back on the field, or other way around, doesn't really matter. But yeah, the follow-up you get from both of these is just really nice. Obviously we've got Seal to tag out into a Magnemite or an Albaz if we weren't able to use the Albaz effect earlier. And then once we do tag into the Magnemite, depending on what kind of survives on the field, we do have, Magnemite and Quem to go into a Bystial, which, or to Dispatter, sorry, which can easily pull back the Quem. Yeah, so that's just kind of like the really basic 2-card combo. And I will get into another one. Okay, so this is a 3-card combo. Now, again, this the Lubellion here can be like Magnemite or Saronir. It being Lubellion does make things better, but yeah, I'm just like, and sometimes these cards can be like substituted with other things. So like we're obviously playing like a one of branded in white, which can kind of achieve the same goal. Like these 3 cards just get to the goal really easily, but there are certainly ways you can get to the goal with different combinations of cards. So for example, if the Quem was an Albaz, again, it's going to look exactly the same as the previous combo. But you actually have the Lubellion to search a Bestial, which is really nice. But I'll just show you an example here. Now, again, 3 cards. We don't want to be playing 3-card combos in 2023, but just to kind of show more of the play style. So we go Quem, send Albaz, and then we're going to, we would have used Lubellion first. Now Lubellion can grab Magnemite or Saronir. Saronir, if you go Saronir, you can set up Beast and Regained, which obviously is really good. Or you can go Magnemite and just go more for the follow-up. Really, it's up to you, I guess, what you would rather kind of play towards. Because we have Albaz, we can special the Cartesia, and now we can Saronir get rid of the Albaz. Now this does kind of get punished by Nibiru a bit. Obviously your hand might help you to kind of play through it when you're fusing with Cartesia. But from here we can go Saronir and Cartesia into the Dispatter. And again, depending on what you have, for example, hard opening an Albaz in addition to this, again, 4-card combo, it's crazy. But if you had access to Albaz already, you can still send it with Quem, but then this could be Baron, and that is infinitely better because the Baron obviously represents an out to disruption from your opponent. And there's plenty of ways to have access to Albaz as well. So it definitely comes up where this is actually a Baron, not a Dispatter. But for now, because of summon Dispatter, Quem can trigger its effect to bring back the Cartesia. So I kind of guess knowing this little resource play here is really good. So like if you can perform a Synchro with Quem on field, you get back your Cartesia. So having that play is always really good. From here, the Dispatter can pull back the Albaz. And now we've got kind of everything we would want. This is obviously a point where you can get Nibiru'd and you really, really cry about it. It's not very nice. Unless you have, again, access to an Albaz in hand, depending. So, I mean, you would have already made Baron, but depending on what you have in hand, Cartesia might be able to kind of get you out of it a little bit, because you can obviously use the Fusion Summon effect, but you definitely get Nibiru here if there's a Nibiru. But let's pretend that it's a perfect world and there isn't. We synchroed off the Saronir. We were meant to use its effect, obviously. We'll dump the Regained, because we'll set up Beast Regained. Obviously, if it was not Saronir, it was Magnemite, we obviously get the end phase search of Magnemite, which, again, could be good, depending on what your rest of your hand would look like. But from here, we can Cartesia with the Albaz to go into Albion, and then Albion's going to do the same thing that we did before. So we'll banish the Albaz, we'll banish the Saronir, and they will become the Titanic Lad, and we can link off into Heraldic Seal. Now, we can obviously leave it like that. We never used the Lubellion, so we could actually, have tributed off something for Lubellion, and then use Lubellion to place Beast. And yeah, we just leave it here, pass to our opponent. Leaving Quem on field is fine, right? It can still reborn things in the graveyard. But then from here, we can, again, get Cartesia back to hand. Alternatively, you can leave it in there as a summon target of Quem to bring it back. But we also get to trigger the Albion and the Titanic Lad. So we can, trigger both those. We can also trigger the Beast, so we get the Regained. Off the Albion, setting branded in red, again, is the kind of preferred option because it helps to play around evenly matched. And then off the Titanic Lad, because we've already used Quem, we can add the Albaz to hand or leave it in grave. It doesn't really matter too much. The only thing at this point is that the no, actually, I would say, sorry, summoning it is definitely better here. So we can summon the Albaz instead of leave it in hand because it just becomes a monster tribute with branded beast. Because having it in grave means the red can actually do something. So right now, I guess we're in a position where we can't use the red. The other thing we could do instead of setting red, obviously it doesn't stop evenly matched, but is we could even just set Retribution because we've got the Titanic Lad and Albion in grave. So that's kind of another line of play that you can do. And obviously we've got the Dispatter to bring back off the Regained if things go south. And we've got Seal to tribute itself, summon Magma, things like that as well. So that is kind of the some of the plays of the deck. If you haven't given this a go, definitely give it a go. It's really quite interesting. I find it very fascinating to play, and just, especially like just being able to link off 2 fusions for Seal like that. This just generates a lot of really strong advantage. So this is kind of the coolest part for me, is just being able to do that. It's really nice. But yeah, that'll be it for this one, and I'll catch you in the next one.